Hi, this is Brian Whitaker at Whitts Ranch, home of BKW Horsemanship LLC, New Germany, Minnesota. Here we are, different vantage point. I talked before in this video series with JC talking about how the catching is going. Well, here it is. Here's video proof. This is the first time she kind of did this. She came up to me really nice here, more than the other few times. And then she stops there. So I said, okay, I'll meet you halfway. That's okay. And she said, nope, psych, I'm out of here. So instead of making this a big deal, I encourage her to move. Okay, you want to move? That's okay. So I just maybe shake my lead rope a little bit. It's going to go off camera here. There's going to be a few little edits in this just to save time. This ended up being a long video anyway, but I think if you hang in there and watch the whole video, you'll see something kind of little bonus, a little fun. See, then I just got her to come up to me here just by asking her to move out. And then she turned around and said, oh, how about I come to you? And I said, okay, that's good. You can stand there. And I take my time with the haltering. I wait till her head's tipped in my direction. Don't try and chase their head out if they move it off to your right. Just take your time. Halter them up. Show them where they should be. Like I said, there's going to be some edits when this is a GPS tracking camera. This isn't anybody recording on this camera. It's tracking me. So there's a few edits where I go behind a building or in a building or something like that. So I edit that out because I've mentioned a few times how I like to try and keep all this footage pretty much raw as possible to see, the good, bad, and otherwise that happens. I think it's a benefit when I watch things to see everything that goes on. When I watched a lot of team roping, I want to see what happens when they do miss, what they do, how they, don't show me just all the good. See, there she's trying to, same old thing, trying to push me through that gate. Something about these gates and a lot of these horses that people don't pay attention to. And I'm never touching her there. I'm just raising my hands up, say, hey, move back a little bit. Not trying to make her head shy, but I'm just saying I'm a little bit bigger here. I'm trying to show you need to back away from me. And even when she came through that time, see how she's trying to race through? So I said, hey, just a little bump. Say, hey, don't forget about me. Don't hold them. I just bump them. It kind of gets their attention. I don't want to constantly bump on them either. So just kind of showing her walking here with me. You can see where the attention is kind of all over the place, but she's not trying to run me over. So we just find a place in there to both exist for now. Now, I will look at the camera a lot to make sure it's tracking me. This thing doesn't always track the best. And then when you get close, it wants to look away. So if you happen to own one of these GPS cameras and you have issues with it close, they say that in the instructions that it took me a while to figure that out. Anyway, you can see that she's doesn't love coming into this barn, but she follows me. And then there's a little edit here because I brush her, make it a good place, and then off we go. She doesn't love being in this barn, so I make it a good place to be. Make it a good experience. I'll brush her up a little bit, pet on her. Don't spend a whole lot of time in there at first. And see how she's trying to rush? Well, this is a smaller door. This is, can be a little slick through here on the cement. Don't rush. Don't knock me over. So I'll make this, a big deal. And I'm going to try and get to it before she gets through that door so I don't put her in a position where she's going to hit her head if she raises it up through the doorway. But you see even there coming out, she rushes. Just a little background here. This is my second time editing this video. I had it all done and it seemed to have disappeared. So we just start over. Sometimes that's what we do with the horses too. You felt like you got somewhere with them and all of a sudden you feel like you're starting back over. So you know what you do? Just start over again. And then maybe you'll both learn from doing that too. Get a little more advancement from it. So if you see me checking out the camera, there's a little blinking green light that will show me that it's working and tracking. So, because it's a really small camera, you would swear it's not looking at you or tracking you sometimes. So I'm just showing there again. I'm just petting her to just check out where she's where she's at. She's a little, obviously there was a little reaction there before. See how she just does not want to stand still for any of this, and that's okay. She's showing me there that she doesn't exactly love what's going on. You saw that in that right foot. She kind of stamps it down. I don't always take that as an aggressive act. Sometimes it's she's ticklish there, she's sore there. I'm not trying to push her buttons and finding it. You see, I go into different spots, places where I don't think she'll be bothered, and then I kind of go back to the place. And she was really bothered today by this stuff. And, change of being outside now. I know she's been ridden outside in her life, but just something different for her. The snow's a little deep in here. It's a little crusty. All these things to consider, but I just keep going. A little lick there, a little relax. Her back is getting a little bit better. She's not as bothered when I go up over her back and feel it. She's still bothered underneath her, between her front legs, a little bit on her flank. And just when she shakes her head to me, that's an indicator of something that she's bothered with. Like when she tosses it, I should say, not shaking it, more when she tosses it. So same thing. I just ask her to back away, don't get on top of me. She felt like she needed to kind of sniff the saddle blanket today. That's okay, within reason. We got a job to do, so you see there, when I went to throw it on, now a lot of people might have thrown it on there, and don't. If they're trying to leave you, I wouldn't try to throw it on. Now I'm just kind of petting her with it. And it's amazing when you start peeling back the layers of exposing where they're at really in true foundation. How just the little things they're still bothered with. There, she's yawning a little bit. That's a good thing. She says, "Oh, maybe I don't need to move." I say, "See, you just need to stand there. But if you feel like you need to move, that's fine. I'll just bend you." I mean, a horse at this point should be obviously very good about being saddled, but she's bothered today. At least today, she's very bothered about it. And that's just getting to the saddle blanket. So I'm going to make sure that's good before I even get to the saddle because, it's a different deal. It's something that's going to be thrown up on her. It's heavy. And I mentioned before, I worked very hard at being smooth about this. This wasn't as smooth today. One last time putting the blanket up before I put the saddle on, and she still moves. So as she moves, I bend her though. But when you're smooth and kind of, less wasted motion, the saddle's on before they even moved. Just have a little readjusting. Didn't do the best job today throwing the saddle on. That happens. But you just keep going. So important to get these horses where you can do things without having to be tied up, without someone having to hold them or hang on to the halter. I should be able to get all this stuff done by myself on a loose lead rope, on a loose rein. So very important to me because if this isn't going to go well, and if I don't head it off at the pass, all this busyness and moving around, why in the world would I think the ride would be halfway decent? See there, she goes back and forth between kind of shaking and licking in between some being a little irritated. That's okay. We're starting to get somewhere then. See all these movements, they're fast, they're jerky. She still wants to pull on me, and then all of a sudden I'll get a good response. Just hang in there. Be smooth. Just keep going. And I know she's a little cinchy, so I bring her around the latigo 3 times. And I try not to, I give her a little space there in the saddle blanket and make a little pocket for her wither. Adjust that saddle before I pull it tight. You can see there. And I sit down. That I will block. No, horse. Your shoulder is going to knock me down, so I will block that immediately. But then I don't make it a big deal, and I just keep moving, keep going. But that's the nice thing with these videos. You're able to go back and look at that to see how that shoulder was the first thing that came into me. That I don't accept. I have a right to be there. She can move her feet around, but not her shoulder into me to knock me backwards. It won't take much. They're strong, they're big. It wouldn't take me much, especially in the snow, to knock me backwards. So I shut that down immediately. Like I said, this is, doing the basics, doing the groundwork. We're going to show that. But if you hang in there, this video has something a little improvised. I had no intentions of doing this what's coming up here in a little bit. I had some ideas of what I might work on, but the way she was kind of going today, I thought, opportunity presented itself. A little head toss. I said, just move your feet now. You wanted to move out so bad, go ahead and move, and I'll put that energy to positive use. Energy is a good thing. It's just when it becomes negative, we got to change it into positive things. Move your front end around, give me some room. See how she kind of always wants to stop here. Looking off into the distance. Now, just like my flag, I'm just getting her to move off the end of my lead rope. That lead rope has a couple of leather poppers so it doesn't sting them, and so it makes a little noise. Instead of hitting them with the lead rope, it hits them with those leather poppers that take take some of the sting out of, just getting tapped here. Just moving the hindquarters, moving the front. Little hard going in this crusty snow, but it gets better as we go. And then I wasn't loving how she wasn't moving out, so I'm going to grab the flag. Let's just review horse and see already that got her moving better. See, I can say, move out now. Don't get so stuck in here. If I can move through in the snow, you can move through. Give me your hindquarters. We've been working on this. This is something you can do. Just set them up to succeed, but get them ready to do a job. Talked about this mare and some of her issues before. That was a good move there. Good turn. I'm going to work on that. My outdoor arena is right next to this indoor, and we've worked on this a little bit with the owner the fall before about trying to get her going through a gate without being dangerous. These gaming horses, they're asked to run and do a lot of different maneuvers so they can get nervous about it, and they can get dangerous going into the arena even through a 12-foot gate. And they can go through sideways, they can go through on their hind legs, rearing through, they can refuse to go through, or they simply just run off. So working on the gate wherever it might be is something that I'm going to help her with. And it's generally just getting through to the hind quarters. And I'm trying to get that to work for me better right here, just on the ground. You can see just mentally she is not here. So I'm saying just move over laterally then. Let's go. Move out. Come on. You can't just ignore me. That's not going to work. See, she keeps tipping her nose out and say, okay, you want to pay attention. If I'm not interesting enough, let's do all these different exercises here. Let's put them all together in a quicker motion here. Just get your mind back. Apparently I'm not interesting enough that you keep looking off into the distance, because you can see now in this video where she lives. She doesn't live too far from here, so nothing real new here, but something about being worked well on the ground that she just feels like I'm not interesting enough. Something more threatening or interesting off in the distance. That's kind of a common thing when horses are not with you mentally. It's not so much 10 feet away or anything. A lot of times it's way off in the distance. What's over there? So just working on that, getting a little backing, getting some softness. As I'm doing this, you can see the attention start to come to me. Now, I never punished her through all this. We just were working on all the maneuvers I've been working on, but just in a little bit faster motion, a little bit more insistent way of doing it. And then when she comes back to me, I'm soft. I'm just real easy to be around. But if you're going to tune me out, I'm going to get you dialed back in here. Even if it's for a moment. She doesn't have to keep the attention on me constantly. You can see there, she looks off. Now I'm working on moving out, moving forward, because I can just feel that's lackey today. So go forward like there she did right there. Just when I take the slack out of the lead rope going forward, move your feet. If you don't, I'm going to tap you with my flag, much like my legs would do. Moving off in that direction. You can slowly see at times the attention coming to me. Now she kind of wanted to shoulder in there, and I said, get off me. I can't ever use that when you tip your rib cage and your shoulder into the circle. I'm here, you're going to knock me down. If I'm riding, you're going to knock down the barrel. Or as I'm going through a gate, you're going to pin us both against the gate. So quit trying to push your shoulder and your rib cage in and round up a little bit. Now there's times where certain maneuvers where you're going to lead a little bit with the shoulder. That's fine. That's not what we're talking about here. She does it as a brace, as a way of sort of avoiding something. Now go forward. See, that one was much better. So I'm just going to pet her with the flag. I try not to get just like crazy about the attention. I mean, if those ears are looking away a little bit and she's still doing what I'm asking, that's okay. We'll get there. I don't get too crazy about it, but she is really almost zero focus on me at all here. And I don't. It's not that I'm looking at the ears or her head. I'm trying to get to the feet. If those feet aren't doing what I'm asking, then I don't have her at all. Forget the ears and the eyes. I need the feet to work for me. I'm gonna put her bridle on. It's good. It's not great. You can see she's looking around. I'm aware of all that. See, and I'm just bringing her back to me. A horse has to be pretty concentrated on you to let him touch him between the ears like that and pet on him. So it's coming back, the concentration. And that's how I check in a lot, just by petting him between the ears, or between the eyes. I'll pet him everywhere, but that's one way I'm kind of checking in with him too. I'm not going to get in a bit. One of the biggest problems I see people when they bridle, why they have issues, is they hurry somewhere. Guaranteed there's somewhere that they're hurrying, or they could be a little bit smoother, but it usually comes from they're trying to hurry to where before their horse does something to get through it. Well, I think I've mentioned this before. That's a little bit like trying to be in the hurry to get to the gas station before you run out of gas. No, you got to slow down to work on that thing that your horse is bothered by. And it might take a long time, several minutes. Maybe it takes a couple of, quite a few sessions. Maybe it takes an hour of just getting the horse not so bothered by something. See, the reins on and off, no problem. She wants to look away. But when you're bridling, if you're having some issues, even if you're not having issues, just checking yourself out that you're not in a hurry. That doesn't mean you're slow or take forever. This is about as long as I like to bridle when things are going decent. I got a little things. Just it was one of those days. Everything was crossed up. It was a little my fault not being a little better prepared, but she hung in there. She waited on me here. Now I'm just going to go back to what we were doing instead of with the flag. Now it's the end of my lead rope with my McCarty setup here. And I've heard people talk about, well, isn't that lead rope only connected to the left rein, so you can only go to the left? No. It is connected only to the left rein, but horses figure that out really quick. Especially, or only I should say, if you've done your work with the halter and lead rope and it's really good. If you can get your horse to go in different directions with the halter and the lead rope and a flag, and they're responding well, then it should be no problem for them to figure out how to do a circle to the right, clockwise, with that pull being different. Now that was a little edit because I'll shut the recording off and on because sometimes this tracking gets blurry and I won't be able to know it. And so I've learned that turning off and on quickly helps. That was like a 2-3 second edit was all that was. You can see that the GPS tracker is on my arm. That's also control the recording. That's why I reach for my arm there on my left arm. I'm just getting set up to ride. See the intention, how much better it is? And that's just from doing some groundwork here. She didn't want to leave at all. That's very good. A little root because she's so used to it. But see how I'm to the end of my reins as I'm adjusting things? And then she starts yawning. This is something that I felt like was a pretty big breakthrough. She goes from yawning to kind of rooting. But if I can get a horse to start relaxing their jaw like that, as soon as I get on, that's a pretty good thing in my book. Because I know then they're not tense as they get on. They're actually doing the opposite. They're learning to release a little bit. If they start at the jaw, it probably came from somewhere else first, but if they start at the jaw, I know that I can eventually get them to relax and release everywhere else. If you can just basically get your horse to relax and get control of the feet, that's really all you need. I mean, there's of course variations and advancements that you'll do, but throughout all that stuff, if you can get your horse to relax, that's so key. See that big yawns? I I don't believe in coincidences. I don't think she just decided to yawn because she's, quote, tired or anything. I think that was all because of what I was doing on the ground. I was being fair. I felt like I was being firm and fair at the same time. I was going through, some exercises to get her feet, to try and get her mind. And she goes in between of like some good things of stretching out and shaking her head to kind of rooting, like there's a little root, because it's just so habitual for her when she feels the bridle that she's got to defend herself. So this is going to take some time. And I'm letting her know that, yeah, you can stretch your head out. That's okay. So I'm real methodical. I'm real careful. Take responsibility is when I pick up those reins, it should mean something. So when I pick them up, she's not able to jerk them back. And then see that? When she gives it to me, I throw them away. Now that's the very beginning of this. I don't do that in my more advanced horses. I always throw that rein away. Sometimes it's a slight give, but she needs this right now to know that once you give me softness, I'm going to give it back to you, and you don't have to pull it. You don't have to jerk that rein away to feel relief. We're just going to get going forward here. See what I mean? A little blurriness. Sorry about that. That's just kind of the way this camera can be sometimes, but it's nice to have it be able to track me. There's not a lot of people out there that are going to stand there and record me when it's 12 degrees out, but you have to put up with a little bit of the blurriness sometimes. Just a very nice, useful tool to have, as I feel, is recording, being able to watch yourself, getting the hindquarters, trying to slow down the front or the forward to get the front. Not good. Just hang in there, try to get that front to come around, saying quit trying to go forward, get your weight back on your hindquarters so you can bring your front around. And then I kind of improvise because it's little thick, the snow's thick and deep, so just a little improvise. Say, all right, we'll just move forward and we'll get that front. You can see me kind of using my rope. I tap it against my leg. I do that for a few reasons. One is I'm getting her just used to that, so it shouldn't bother her. If she moves out, it's going to make a noise. Maybe she's not used to it. And also it helps me get some forward movement from her. Get a little back. Not a bad back there. Sometimes she overflexes in her pole there. She's trying to escape that pressure instead of soften to it. There I'm trying to get her to go forward out of that. Trying to get her to move off my leg. Nice round circle there. Really looking up with my body. Now I'm going to open the gate here. She does a nice job with this, but here's what I don't want. I don't want you to think because I opened it, you take over and just go through. See? So that open gate means nothing to you. But when I can get control of those feet, I can side pass or maneuver over to it with no problem. But I need control of the feet to go past it. So I'll check her out here. Just doing a little bit of serpentines there, just switching it all up. Now I'm going to look past the gate here. That's very important. See, up, looking way to the right. Not even indicating at all that we're going to go through. And just a little bump there, and she said, okay, I'm with you. So many people want to look at the thing that they don't want to go through. Well, your horse feels the direction you're looking, just the way either your body is arranged. Big, deep breaths through it. There was a nice movement there. Start of one. And I say, all right, we're going to go through, but let's back through. We're going to take our time. I'm going to make sure I don't put you in a position that you're going to bump it. See that backing not very in unison there towards the end. It was a little better. And I can feel that, so I'm not going to work on the back a whole lot. A little blurriness again, that'll come back. I'm just going to go for a ride here. This is the first time I've done this on the horse. I know they told me they've gone down the road, and I'm sure she has, but I just want to check it out for myself. Just getting her dialed in with me, saying, you don't know what we're going to do, so just pay attention to me. So maybe we're going to cut back here. She did this real well. It was a really pretty day. It was the frost, a little bit of snow coming down. The trees were a little frosty. Wish there was a way to know if my dog was having fun. He says sarcastically. Just switched up. Now I'm going to work on, like I talked about, going into this arena here. Kind of deep snow going into it. And I just give her some slack, let her find her way through it. She was real willing here to go through it. Yeah, she got me in a good position where I could open that gate. Now, slow your feet. Don't try to shoulder this gate. We're going to both get in trouble here. This is why it's so important, why I work on it so much on the ground and everywhere else, is now in this real-life scenario. If you shoulder this right now, boy, that's going to hurt for both of us. Now I just make it a point when I get in here, like we're going to do some work here. Put her right to a trot. Now, this is pretty deep in here, so she's working harder than it looks. Kind of doing like, I'm going to go to the third barrel, or what do they call that event? I forget now. Going to circle around, come back, really extend forward with my arms and get real free here. Post a little bit, let her move out, and let her kind of come back to the gate here. So she kind of understands that this is the in and out, so I'm kind of trying to work on this. I'm just saying, okay, listen on me, and we got to open this gate a little more. There she waited for me. Like there, even she looked around, but she was with me. So like I said, it's more about the feet. The head will come. The concentration will come if I can get to the feet. There. I say, okay, now we're done with that run. That's good job. Extend forward. Don't pull on my reins. Really, that's why I like this McCarty setup. You can do it with split reins. It's fine. But with split reins even, you got to adjust. Like, I can get to the end of my reins real quick and have slack. And that's so important. Now, see there? She got bracy on me. Already she's learning, oh, this is the arena. This is where I get anxious and I brace up trying to not go in or take over. And there she kind of pointed her hip to the left. And I said, no, bring that back. If she starts doing it slightly at a walk when we're not even really doing anything, imagine how bad she'd get when it's competition time at her dead run. So fix it. Fix it while there's way less pressure here. So I just wanted to circle around, kind of come back to work on that. That's how I would like my game horse or my rope horse or whatever to go through a gate or whatever. The next down, she's just walking. See already a little bit of anxiety there. I can see it. The head's coming up. She's a little bracy. There, and I'm going to take off. And we're going to do our speed dash. That's what I was trying to think of. Now we're going to do speed dash. I have done all that, by the way. When I was young, I used to show, did a lot of the different shows, English, Western, games. I've jumped, went to a jumping competition, a 3-day eventing, I think they call it, long before my roping career. I did all that stuff, so I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar what a horse needs to do, and there I'm exaggerating now going home, because if you watched on the first video, I believe, of this series with JC, she had a habit of slowing down before the timer. The timer, of course, what starts the time, there's an electric eye that goes across. And she slows way down, so I'm exaggerating. Get to the end of this arena. If you can't do it at a walk, you sure aren't going to do it at a run. And there's a lot of reasons why those horses end up doing that. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about here. Now, if you hung in the video so far, thank you. And something a little different. The owner and I, she had asked if I would be able to do this with her, and I said, I don't see any reason why not. I figured it'd be a lot later on in having her that I would do this, but everything she was doing well, and circumstances just, see, there's another, I'm just going to move the gate because I can, and she let me. See, now that's getting a horse handy. That's getting them in a real life scenario. She's on the payroll now. I'm able to open gates with her, so at least she has that job that I'm able to do with her. And I thought I'd just kind of trot her off here. She's never been through this spot. Sometimes the horses get a little scared of this little alleyway here. Here's a little edit because I went through the gate and you really can't see me. Now I'm getting it mounted. See how she did not move because we've been practicing that. And this is a little more pressure scenario, so I was happy with that. Now, best of my knowledge, this mare has never done this. So you can see now practicing tapping my rope against me. And she's understanding that this is not really about her, because what we're going to do here, I'll show you here in a bit. It's just the way it worked out. I really didn't have intentions when I got her today that we'd do this. See, I'm just tapping against my leg, saying to these cattle here, okay, time to move. And we're just going to go in a nice round flow. Now, you'll see it off camera. You can't see it here, and you see the cattle will kind of spook out. The mare she spooked just a little bit here. You'll see that right there. You can kind of tell by how the cattle reacted. But you'll see me like it didn't, see how it didn't happen. I'm just petting her and saying, that's all right. She got by the automatic water there, and I don't know which led to which. I think the cattle started moving. She spooked. But she just brought her front end around to the right real quick. Well, shoot, we've been working on that anyway, so no harm done, horse. No big deal. And if I would have not brought that up, you would have never saw it. It happened in an instant, and I didn't really have to do anything because she kind of caught herself. But here she was getting a little anxious, so I'm just saying, well, bring that hindquarters around, remember? And I did this side, and she was kind of rushing through it, and I didn't like how she was doing it. And I'll say, well, just hang in there. Don't worry about the cattle. And then she softened, and I said, oh, good. Now on to our job here. You can see how I'm tapping my leg there, making some noise, some movement, and she's not bothered by it. I'm just trying to get the cattle to move, because the best way to get a horse on cattle is get the cattle to move away from you. Now this is, I'm asking a lot here on a horse that's not really done this by having a whole big herd like this, and then these two boys are butting heads and kind of in a cow tornado here. And so I'm just kind of keeping my distance, but I'm real aware of that. When they get locked in, I've seen them take out fence, but they're just having some fun. And see, now when those cattle are moving away from her, she's interested in that. Now, here's the other part, is it can get them to kind of want to take off too. See that? That's that rooting I'm talking about. And I'm saying, no, when I give you slack, that doesn't mean go forward. Now I'll bump her there and say, don't take over. Won't have to do that much. No, I'm just kind of putting that nervous energy to use. She's a little anxious by those cattle that were behind me here, so now we're walking towards them. Can't see them yet. But I'm aware of that and say, okay, let's go over there and address this. Just kind of checking out the feet, saying, don't take over on me. Just because they take off doesn't mean anything to you. I might need to go back and do this here. So I've seen horses just completely lose it when the cattle move out too. They want to either run off or go after them, and I always want the horse I always want to feel like the horse is listening to me. Those feet, I have control over those feet. Those are my feet. Just because that's what we're doing right now is tracking, we're moving, and we're following, doesn't mean that's what we're going to continue to always do. I might need to go back here and do this, or that might be the job today. We're just going to kick these cattle out of this little trap, and that's it. And so now I could have moved the camera. Just a little information on that is, if I move the camera, it has to reposition the satellite it picks up. This camera works off of satellites and GPS. So if I move the camera, it takes, sometimes feels like 15-20 minutes to re-track, and then sometimes it doesn't track well. So I found it's just best to put it somewhere and leave it. So not giving you the best footage here, but it's kind of a good improvise of picking up the other stuff I did with catching her. I thought for a while where to put this camera. So there's a lot of thought goes into this stuff. Where to put it when I catch her, where to put it when I'm in the round pen, where to put it, when I'm in the arena. Now this I had no intentions of doing, but I thought, I know this camera will pick up some of this. So now I'm working on just getting her to see. I'm saying, don't push through that. So I'll bump her a little bit. Now, see, that's important. There's some slack. There was a root I was going to get off, and I'll say, that's what that feels like when you do that to me. A little bump. Don't move your feet. I need to get off you here. See that? That little soften that shaking that head. That's a bad habit. And that didn't just start there. It's been there for a long time. It just kind of reared its ugly head there when it's pressure. See, a lot different horse here when there's pressure. And I'm just saying, move your feet. Get off my feet. Don't lean on me. So when I put a leg on her, she leaned on me. I said, there, that's it. Now you're doing good. She's tucked that tail. I said, just hang in there. I'm going to get off you. So I'm not going to ask her to stand there a long time when she's anxious and wanting to move out. I'm just saying, step over. You acted like you didn't even know I got off you. So when I'm trying to step through, look at it now, come back and go, oh, you're here. I got so worried about those cattle moving off. So it can get scary, when you're doing games like that. You got, 900 pounds in her case, 1,000 pounds of muscle and energy and athletic ability that, boy, when they get anxious and tight, it can be a little scary when they're wanting to take off with you. So I'm not saying that was for me at all. I'm just saying it can be. I can relate to it. So that was starting to build, all that negative stuff of wanting to take off with me and take over. So just little things to check in. But then you can't sit there all day and work on that because, boy, I could create bad habits. So I'm just telling her, just hold still a second so I can get off you. Just 3 seconds. Don't pull on me and then that was a little edit just going through the gate. Now you see me just riding her around. See, on a loose rein. See how quick she comes off of that? I'm just taking the pressure off. So I'm not done with her. I took the pressure off her, but I'm still doing some stuff. Hopefully that makes some sense. Then I'll just get some roundness in the going left and right in the serpentines. That's another good one to work on with some balance, doing these serpentines, just getting their mind back. Now, if I would have tried to do a lot of this in that scenario where she was up by those cattle and worried, I maybe wouldn't have been as effective. So I just took some of the pressure off. End on a good note. That's all I'm trying to do here is end on a good note. We had a good day. The cattle thing, she did really well at the end. She got a little anxious when they took off. So I'm just trying to get her back. So I'm not going to end on a kind of a bad note. It wasn't terrible, but she started sort of taking over and wanting to get real anxious there. So I'm just going to check in on her. Will you stop with softness? Will you back with softness? Good. No, just because I give you slack doesn't mean you should go. See? She was wanting to do that with the cattle, so I'm going to work on that again. There, now I'll give you a slack in the reins. That doesn't mean to take off. You're rooting, but there's nothing to rooting against, horse. Trying to pull in those reins when there's nothing but slack on those reins. That's a hard maneuver for a lot of people. First of all, the reins aren't long enough to be able to do that maneuver. Simply put, you won't be able to do it if your reins are too short. End of story. I don't care if you put them up on the neck. They're still able to kind of pull on them. So that's number one. And number two is training yourself when the horse gives you softness, in this case, that you get to the end of your reins and give them nothing to pull against. That's kind of a hard concept to understand, but it's a lot like tug of war. If I give you a rope, put a rope in your hands, and you hold it, and I start to pull on it, your first reaction is going to brace your feet, squeeze your hand, and brace against me pulling. It's just a natural, it's just any kind of, I was going to say human reaction. Animals do it. It's a survival thing. So I'm just showing her that she doesn't have to brace. There's nothing to pull against. So I'm putting slack in that. Just trying to find a soft spot to get out here. I still feel like she's trying. See there? That was a good. I was trying to get that hindquarters to her right, and she said, "How about I push into you?" And I said, "No, that's not going to work." It's just because she got a little bit nervous, a little animated there with the cattle. It wasn't much, but that's all it takes sometimes. Same thing. It's really a parallel to the games that she does. They kind of get anxious. See there? I'm saying don't lean on me. Don't try to take off. It's trying to get to them before they move their feet. She can extend that neck down. So I'm doing that maneuver with bringing my right foot back there and my left foot back, trying to get the hindquarters to move, get the nose to look at where my foot's going there. She came back. I had my foot. Now watch my left foot come back to get the head straight. So I'm not pulling on her at all. I'm just using my feet. Now if she moves forward, I block that. There. When she goes to the tips her nose to the left, I release my foot. Just pat on her, let her know she's doing a good job. There's the right foot. Look how quick that came. Doesn't matter if she was looking at the cattle. It does not matter at all. I still release. Left foot. She came straight with her head. She's not trying to move out. So I'm teaching her that just because I put a leg on you doesn't mean squirt forward. Doesn't mean like someone lit a fuse and she's a dynamite just going to blow. No. Sometimes it just means, move your hindquarters. Now I'm trying to just get some vertical softness, and she thought, this is a big one too, where just because I pick up on both reins doesn't mean I want you to go backwards, and especially in the fashion that she is backing up. She either gets overbent or she does this, she gets crooked. All I'm trying to do is get her softened to the reins without moving back, and she'll sort it out. I'll just wait. And she'll figure that out because I'm not releasing when she backs. And I'm just relaxed. I'm loose on her, and my hands are just a little offset, trying to get her to soften to both those reins without getting overbent like that, without backing. So I'm saying you can back, but that's not what I'm asking. And she either puts her head, she's overbent. There she gave me some softness in between where she got slack in those reins without backing, without getting overbent. So I gave the reins back and I said, how does that feel? I'm going to ask again here. Just gently come up. She gave it to me a lot quicker that time. And, she gave it to me after she turned her head and rooted. So it's too late. I already gave you the slack. Now don't move forward. Asking for some softness there. That came through better. I said, all right, now move forward. Go straight, though. See how crooked she wants to be? Just avoidance. It's just not understanding what's expected. She wanted to trot forward. That's okay. Now back. Now I'm asking for a back. And then now, what I'm asking is for a back and then ending on softness. So just because I pick up the reins, they don't mean to always back. I say, no, don't go that way. Go forward. Just trying to find somewhere good to get out without her being so busy. See her pulling? There's nothing to pull against, though, because those reins are long enough. I've got my hand down. I'm at the end of my rein with one hand, and I got it down on her mane. There is nothing to pull against, and she'll figure this out. There, see how she moved that hindquarters? Nope, don't do that. I'll get after him real quick. Like, no, that's something that's a bad thing to do. I don't need you doing that, horse. Like if we're going through a gate and she wants to brace up and tip that hindquarters, well, that's a good way to scrape my leg off from her for her to bang into it. There's so many different reasons why I just lost the feet. I don't want that. I'm letting her get by with some things. I get like there, I'm going to shut that down where she starts shaking her head. She doesn't realize we're done. That's the one thing she quite hasn't realized is, okay, we're done, horse. Just let me get off you. And so she doesn't know she doesn't know what to do with herself just to stand there. Much like the beginning of the ride when I'm putting the saddle on, she just doesn't know how to stand there. She just feels like she's always got to be so busy and move around and look around because she's always been kind of probably, my guess is she's been drilled and drilled and drilled and drilled. And even if we feel like we're just going down the road, well, if your reins are too short, you're always pulling on her, and this is the result. Right here. More than likely, you're not going to see this stuff on a horse that has a clear definition of when to give and when the release comes. This is a horse that's been very frustrated and very confused about when that's going to happen. What she needs to do with when I take slack out of the reins, or when I'm asking her to back, or when I'm asking her to move her hindquarters. I kept all this in there in this video because I just think it's important. I had a really good ride, but if I would have ended on a bad note where she's shaking her head like that, or where she won't give me softness, that's gonna leave the taste in both our mouths for the next time. They remember from one time to the next. Trust me. I have a video with D that I addressed that with, where I track cattle, and see, I'm just saying, don't push me up against that gate. That's hard piece of metal, and you're a big strong horse. I don't need to be squeezed in between there. Saying, move that hindquarters around. Let's get with me here. So now I'm going to make this a good place to be by going in the barn where she's a little bit unsure about, taking the saddle off, brushing her, and then that's it for being in the barn. I left some of this too. It's always nice to have chickens around. My loyal, faithful Hondo. I'm going to show this too as well. Now we're done. See, extending that right arm out. Follow that feel. Come on, keep going. She wants to stop and look around. No, just keep moving your feet. She's more worried about the cattle when they're further away than when they were in front of her. More concerned, I guess. Now, I'm going to show, this is mainly just to get to a good position to show that after doing what I did, trying to get softness, that hopefully she's not as sore now. See, and she's not as bothered when I grab the flank. When I go underneath her front legs there's a little change. Just kind of showing that hopefully what I'm doing while I work on the ground and riding her is actually helping with some of her soreness. A little bit of root there. It's hard to tell with her sometimes because some of this is so habitual. There's obviously a reaction there. Kind of like, oh, that bothers me, but she kind of stretched her neck forward too. I thought, this would be a good time. I'll tie you up here. And on a good note, and I'll do some other chores. You can see how high up that camera actually is. Just get it high up so I can kind of show everything. There's going to be an edit here. I did some chores, and I thought this would be good to leave in where just things that real life scenarios happen. I'm trying to get her move forward here. She's kind of leaning on the lead rope. There, she moved forward a little more. There. So you don't need to lean on that now. See how she kind of sniffed that whatever's in front of her now? I like that. I'm just showing that, stuff happens. You need to get used to it. If you're at an event and they start working the arena up and the tractor comes near the horses, the driver's not paying it. Now, I'm not purposely scaring her. I turned way before her, but I just want to get her used to just real life. She handled that well. I show a little bit too when I'm gone for a second. Oh, the duck goes running away. When I put this away, where her mentality is at, being tied up. It's going to show her here, and I'm pretty happy with this, right? She didn't seem bothered by the tractor. She doesn't seem bothered that she's all by herself. I give her enough room on the lead rope. Just looking around. Overall, pretty satisfied horse. I think she's pretty content. She's still real aware of what's going on. Now this thing is trying to track me even though I'm on the other side of the building, so that's what it's doing. Little tail movement, I like that. She's like, oh, it's not so bad here. Still looking around. A little edit here when I walk around. I'm going to show now when I walk up to a horse, the last thing I want him to do is back away, and she does this. It might be on to see that one step back, and I say, no, move forward. I don't want you to back away. So I'm rhythmic about my bumps. Say, okay, and I'll turn it up. Say, move forward. And she moves. See how she crossed over, just like what I've been asking her to do? Moving the hindquarters. I said, there. Now instead of approaching right at the head, so I'll ask her again. Now move forward. You're still kind of, there you go. I do not want to teach a horse to back away as I get close to them. If you pay attention to that, you'll see a lot of horses do it. So there I'm saying I'm taking the slack out and say, don't back away here. That to me is the start of a horse possibly being a puller. I don't want that. If anything else, when I approach you, I maybe want you to move your hindquarters or really do nothing's fine. But it shouldn't take much effort to get them to go forward and over with their hindquarters. And with her, it was the opposite. She wanted to back away. A lot of it's anticipation, like, okay, we're leaving. Well, that's what she does when I'm on her too. When I was tracking the cattle, when I was moving them, and when I'm trying to get off, she's anticipating something, like trying to move forward. No, you're anticipating. That's not what we're doing. So she's anticipating possibly when I'm going to grab the lead rope and take her away. So she starts backing away. Well, we can get in a lot of trouble doing that with you anticipating things. You're anticipating the the barrels or the event you're about to do, so I can't even get you through the gate because you're anticipating it so much. So that's, to me, that's where it starts, is right there, even just tied up. Don't start anticipating these things. Don't start going backwards. That's not going to help at all. I need to have some slack to get this knot out of being tied up. So it's showing too where I'm going to end with some softness. This doesn't start just when I start working with her in the round pen. It starts and ends right here. Don't be bracy. Don't try to now she can run off. That's fine. I don't have any control of her. That's fine. She's just feeling good, but checking things out a little bit, and then she kind of runs off towards what she thinks is going to save her, and that's all right. But long video. Thanks for hanging in there. I think it was kind of a cool thing to see tracking with cattle. That was improvised. It was also I thought that she was going to do well with it. If I didn't think she was with me today, or if she was really having some trouble, I would have never put her in a position to fail by whatever I'm going to do. And that's really important. That does take some experience of kind of knowing where your horse is at. But if you just pay attention to them, they'll show you where they're at. And felt like the cattle was a really good thing with her today. My dog, he just never happy, right? Well, thanks for watching. If you got any questions or comment, let me know below. Thanks.